Hello, Michael. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. All right, well, let's go ahead and dive right in. Tell me about your business, Blue Penguin Development.
Sure. So I'm a marketing coach and I specialize in working with solo professionals, so people who work by themselves and people who sell a service. So attorneys, financial planners, consultants, coaches, writers, people who sell themselves essentially. Those are my people.
All right, and what is the specific problem that you saw for your people?
Well, my focus is marketing, and I think the number one thing is always how do I get more clients and more of the right clients, meaning the kind of people I want to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that is especially among my group of people who are really good at what they do. But that thing they do has nothing to do with marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So the issue is always how do I get more clients so I can do the stuff I want to do?
Mm-hmm.
And for those of us who had a job, as I did, well into my middle age, it's not something you've ever been taught. It's often just feels very foreign. And so
Mm-hmm.
I coach people in a variety of ways, what they write, what they say, to make it work. And also, my approach is very much about making it authentic and natural and not feel creepy.
Got it.
Yeah,
Nobody wants creepy marketing.
right.
Now, why do your customers choose you to help them solve this problem? Because there are plenty of marketing coaches out there and business coaches and all that kind of stuff. So why do they choose you?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting question. And actually, I think it's sort of at the heart of everything I do. So just to back up a little bit, I spent, I don't know, 15 years in kind of standard corporate America kind of stuff, doing marketing. And in a big company, who you are as a person doesn't have a lot to do with whether you get hired or people buy your stuff
Right.
because we had advertising budgets and I had staff. And even though it was marketing, it was very much a numbers oriented thing, not a creative thing, really.
Mm-hmm.
When I went off to work on my own, I suddenly realized, first of all, nothing I knew had anything to do with getting clients
Right.
as an individual. But I also found that, just to your point, Sonia, it's that everyone you compete with kind of offers the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a recruiter, you're a financial planner, you're a freelance writer, there's all kinds of people who do the same thing. And so what I sort of eventually realized was the reason you get hired is because people understand what you do, which for some people is hard because they do something that kind of obscure. People remember you.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone says, "Hey, I need a writer," or if tomorrow you are like, "I need a mechanic for my car," you start asking people, "Who do you know?"
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be remembered in that way. And then a key piece is what I found is likability, which again sounds so, unbusinessy, not serious, but people refer and hire people they like. And
Sure.
so it's not that I'm more likable than other people, although clearly I'm better looking. It's it's that I've learned to be as sort of authentic and real in my marketing as I can, whereas I find a lot of us hide all that behind this sort of veil of professionalism, and so people can't tell who they like and who's different. And so what I found is that if you can be as real as possible and do, which I know we'll talk about, sort of likable things,
Mm-hmm.
you get more business. So it's soft and squishy, but it's very predictable.
But it makes a lot of sense. So I'm curious from you, what does a remarkable customer experience mean to you, and how does likability and authenticity factor into that?
Yeah. So I'm always focused on, and my clients fit into the same realm. What can we do that your larger competition can't?
Uh huh.
Because if you compete with a bigger company, and it doesn't have to be even huge, but if you're a one-person company competing with a 100-person company, they want to do things that scale, that can be tracked. So, for example, I'm big on handwritten notes.
Okay.
You're not going to get a handwritten note from the phone company,
Right.
no matter how nice they may try and be. Um, I'm big on what I think of as real communication. So again, even as we just started the call and you say, "Hi, how are you?" and all that, um, that small thing, or asking, how the weather is, you don't get that when you talk to the phone company. In fact, what you do get is the very canned, thank you for us being of service today. I hope you have a nice day. I mean, someone's literally reading a script to thank you because they're concerned they're not going to do it right. So it's not that the big companies are stupid. It's that they can't, in some ways, get out of their own way. They have to systematize things, and they have to do things that can scale. And so I am always trying to get people to do things, whether it's gifts or phone calls or coffee with people who are geographically nearby. Mm-hmm. That's the stuff your big competition will never do.
Got it. And does that translate into a remarkable experience for your customers because they're so not used to it?
Well, it's a funny thing. Some people don't want to deal with a small company. Mm-hmm. They want a large company. And I always say, that's okay. Those aren't your people.
Right.
Because the objective is not, how do I get everyone on earth to want to work with me? That's what Bank of America has to do, mm-hmm. because their market literally is everyone on earth. What we're trying to do is, how do I find like the people who are my people? And the truth is, if you're a small company all the way down to an individual, you need a tiny sliver of the market to be successful. Mm-hmm. So you really want to find people who sort of connect with you in that way. And so what I'm trying to do in terms of likability is, again, be as real as possible, but also make a personal connection with those people.
Got it. And maintain, I'm guessing, that connection over time so that you're able to build and nurture that relationship, I'm sure.
Yeah, and that's easier said than done, okay. I find. Because even though it may make complete sense, this idea of be personal and connect, the problem with this whole, call it relationship marketing, is it's sort of like exercise.
Okay.
Like, it takes time. You have to keep doing it. And you don't usually get a result the day you do it.
Right.
So it's rare that you send somebody a thank you note and they call you up and say, oh, we want to hire you.
Right.
However, what I found in years of, thank you notes and coffees and, all this kind of stuff is that people come to you through these very obscure connections over time.
Right.
But it's almost like you're planting seeds that take time to grow. So the hard part is it's real easy to stop doing it because, the note you send today, you're not getting a client from that. Or, I had a call or an email from a young guy just got out of college today. Mm-hmm. Can I come and buy you a cup of coffee? I'm thinking of going into marketing. Mm-hmm. But that kid can't help me one bit.
Right.
Today, it's easy for me to go, no, or just not even respond to his email.
Right.
My rule is, you come to see me, I'll have coffee with anybody.
Right.
Because I know most people aren't going to do it. And I also know that kid has friends, parents. One day he'll be someone who maybe hires me. But you have to have a certain faith in the process because it takes a while.
Right. Now, along those lines, there is, no matter how big your company is, a culture that you create. So whether you're a one-person company, you have a culture that you embody. And then if you're a 10,000-person company, there is a culture that exists as well. What is the culture that you cultivate within your business that enables you to deliver that type of experience with your customers over time? Because especially, as you said, that whole likability aspect of it, which is your signature, seems to be something that isn't necessary. It's not something you do it today, like you said, you get a result tomorrow. So what is the culture that you cultivate that enables you to, whether you're seeing those results or not, get immediately to continue to do what you feel like is going to deliver that experience that you want?
Yeah, I mean, I use the phrase likable expert. Mm-hmm. So, and I actually feel like, and actually I often say to people that my marketing objective is stay in front of the people you know over and over again in a way that positions you as a likable expert.
Okay.
And I think the key elements are they have to believe you're good. So I don't mean to suggest you don't have to be good and it's all about being a nice guy. So things like publishing content, the way you interact with people, the work you do with clients, that kind of proves that you're good at what you do. Mm-hmm. Most people, though, they stop there. They think it's all about capability. Mm-hmm. And that if I said what makes you different, they tend to go off on explaining, well, I'm a little more this. I have this additional certification, or I've been doing it maybe a little bit longer. Not that that's not important, but you and I have a lot of difficulty discerning who's better. Like you don't even know where your doctor went to medical school. For all you know, she didn't. Uh, and the truth is, unless like you're getting a heart transplant tomorrow, it doesn't matter. All these professionals are good. In the likability part and the staying in front of people over and over again, I find is a key piece. So that's really my mantra. And so it causes me to do things. Even again, when I get the email from the kid today, hey, I got stuff going on. I'm talking to you. It's so easy to just blow past that. But because the culture of my organization, which is just me, is likable expert, I try to be conscious to not walk past that kind of stuff. It was fun. I mean, just another quick story. I was sitting in Starbucks like 2 weeks ago, and it's super cold here in New England, and a guy walks in and announces to the 30 of us sitting there, does anybody have jumper cables? Which, if you live in New England, is a good idea.
Right.
And he's literally standing right in front of me, and I'm having a conversation with a person. I have jumper cables in my car. I didn't want to go out there in the cold and help this guy, but I really thought, if you're going to walk around the place telling people you're the likable expert, you're sort of obligated to be helpful. So it does guide, things I do. And again, I don't think I have any more sort of inherent likability, but I do make a point of sort of using that as a marketing tool where I feel like a lot of people don't take advantage of the human side.
Right. And I like that your culture, your values that play into it, and your signature guides your actions. Because I think a lot of times people will say, well, this is what we stand for, this is what we want to do, this is the culture that we want to create, and there is a giant disconnect or a gulf between what they say they want and what they actually do. So I'm glad that you're using it as kind of like your guiding star.
Well, and that's a great point. I mean, you just reminded me when I did have a job in a big company, I won't name the name, but you've heard of them. We in the marketing department would develop our messaging and our vision statement based on what our research suggested our customers wanted us to be. It never occurred to us to go talk to the people delivering the service to see if it matched up. It was all about, we're going to say what you tell us you want. That's what we are.
Right.
But there, as you said, there was this huge disconnect between reality and the messaging.
Yeah, and that's never any good. Never any good.
Yep. Not a good thing.
All right. Now, what would you say is the biggest barrier that you've experienced along the way that has limited your ability to deliver a remarkable experience for your customers?
I think it's time.
Okay.
Because, I'm a one-person company. I outsourced things to assistants and tech people and all that, but I'm one person. I've been that way for 18 years, and I have no interest in growing. I like being, this way.
Right.
But the reality is, you get busy. Peaks and valleys are extreme when you work for yourself, and that's when it's really easy for me to stop doing things. So, I actually have this I'm embarrassed to say paper to-do list. It's like a grid.
Great.
Of all my stuff to do each week, like 10 outbound contacts to people that I already know. Like I'm big on staying in touch with people I know. Just to say, hey, Sonia, how you doing? Just to connect. One face-to-face meeting a week. Coffee, lunch. I mean, again, it's really easy to blow that stuff off, but because I've got this little checklist, I kind of see if I'm doing it.
Right.
And then maybe 7 or 8 other things. I'm not perfect at it, but because I've got these goals about how I'm going to continue with the likability stuff,
right,
I do it. But I have to say, you get busy and you're like, I'm not driving 20 minutes to go meet someone for coffee.
right. Especially if it's cold or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? It's amazing how often you'll go meet somebody, and then a week later, that person will like BCC you on an email where they're referring you to somebody else.
Yeah.
It really does work. Yeah.
And it's good that you've got the goal for yourself of what it is that you want to do, because it does help you structure your time in the proper way so that you can get those things done. Now, you spend a lot of time reaching out to your customers, maintaining that contact, etc. What do you do to maintain that level of intimacy with them that enables you to get insights into what it is that they're going through in terms of how you might be able to use that to help them better? Because it's one thing to build a relationship and stay in contact with people. It is another thing to actually really know them and have a deep degree of intimacy with them. So what do you do to cultivate those relationships? Because I know you said it's harder to do sometimes.
Right. This is going to sound strange, but a key change I made after being in business a couple of years was I don't charge by the hour anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I charge flat fee for everything.
Okay.
You can't hire me by the hour. And I did that for a number of reasons, but one of the results which I did not anticipate was because I'm not charging by the hour, my clients are willing to shoot the breeze with me, talk about their weekend or their dog or how cold it is. If you're charging by the hour,
they're not going to.
I mean, boy, my accountant charged me by the hour, and I get on the phone, hi, how's it going? And I just talk as fast as possible.
Right.
Once I remove that, they share a lot more about who they are individually, and frankly, they share more about what else is going on in their business, which leads to more business for me.
Right.
But it kind of took the time pressure off. And I also realized that I like shooting the breeze with people. Like if I could just do that all day, I would do that.
Right.
So that also led to this ability to be less strictly business and more connecting on a human level. And that's made a huge difference. My clients are really, without exception, they're all people I'd be very happy to go to lunch with. I don't just do it because, I'm supposed to do it.
Right.
So that's nice.
Right. Now, as they're opening up and doing all those things and sharing, about what's going on with their business, do you catalog those insights that you gather so you can kind of say, oh, I'm hearing this over and over and over again, or do you kind of keep them all in your head?
You mean for future conversations?
For future conversations or even product offerings that you might develop?
Right. I definitely just keep them in my head. Not that I'm suggesting this is the way to do it, but I have a very just kind of wade into it approach.
Okay.
Like I mean, a lot of what I'm doing is coaching, and I find that I used to really worry if I had a call with someone. I typically would work with someone. We'll talk once a week.
Right.
I would end up I'd think a lot about it and look at my old notes, and the more comfortable I got with it, I realized that I'm good at just sort of wading into the conversation, and it just sort of comes to me. I mean, that's why I think I'm a good coach. So I'm not very systematic.
Okay.
I don't know that I recommend that, but
but it works for you.
Works for me.
What's been working for you? What are your 3 keys to success?
Well, so one is the likability piece. A second is I really focus on the people I already know. So not just clients, but my phone is ringing. My entire marketing approach is based on staying in front of the people I already know. And I mean, like a lot of times I'll say to people when we talk about who do you already know, they think about clients and prospects. I'm talking about, my definition is anyone who, if you called them up or emailed them, you wouldn't have to introduce yourself.
Okay.
So that includes like your college roommate and people you worked with 10 years ago. What I'm particularly good at is keeping those relationships alive.
Okay.
And a lot of it's just this sort of, I just emailed with a guy like a couple of days ago. I don't think I've seen him in 20 years. I just saw him go by on LinkedIn. We used to work together. I was like, oh, John, how you doing? So I'm very good at the, hey, how you doing email.
Right.
But again, this sort of stirring the pot of people you know is very productive. So it's fine if you find me by Googling and you find your way to me. I don't pay any attention to things like SEO.
Okay.
What I do is I stay in touch with those people. And then the third thing, which relates to it, is I've published a newsletter every 2 weeks for like 20 years.
Okay.
And I mean, I like writing, so it's fun for me. But that newsletter also keeps me in front of people for years who I would easily have fallen off their radar. That's why when I said to you my sort of sentence earlier, stay in touch, stay in front of the people you know over and over again. I think you need some way to repeat it. Doesn't have to be writing if you hate it. I mean, like with just what you're doing. You've got this audience of people who keep listening. So even if they don't pay attention for 6 months, you just keep churning along. And then, you hit them on the right day and they go, let's talk.
Yeah. No, it's true. It happens all the time. And you're staying in front of them in a way that's not obtrusive because they've raised their hand and said that they want to hear from you on a regular basis. So that always just makes it helpful whenever you do honor your part of the agreement and just kind of provide helpful information for them on a regular.
Yeah, right.
All right. Well, what can we expect to see from you in the future in terms of I know the likable expert is your thing.
Hmm. Well, the biggest thing is I just published the book a couple of months ago called The Likeable Expert.
Okay.
121 ways to grow your business, or something like that. So that's for me what I'm focusing on now. And I have to say, for anyone who's thinking of publishing a book, it's gotten way easier than it used to be.
For sure.
And it's nice because on that whole sort of expert positioning thing, creating a book is something that people, whether it makes sense or not, actually assume, wow, she or he must be good if you do that.
Right.
And I find it's kind of fun as well. It's nice to have a physical thing when we all live in this virtual world of, bits.
For sure.
Right.
And where can people find you?
I have a page set up just for your listeners, michaelkatz.com/magnet.
Perfecto.
And they can find out all about me.
All right, and I will have all that information in the show notes. They can get more details about your book too, The Likeable Expert.
Thanks very much.
All right. Well, Michael, this has been cool. Any parting words of wisdom for businesses who want to consistently create a remarkable customer experience for their customers?
Yeah. Don't be afraid to let the personal side come into your business.
Okay.
There's a concern that I'm going to be seen as unprofessional, or if I talk about my dog in a presentation. What I have found is that that's a pretend concern.
Yeah.
If you're in business, you're not going to become crazy. The much bigger problem is you look like everybody else who does what you do. So the real differentiator is not your skill, even though you need that. It's the way you interact with people. And so the more you can do that in a sort of regular way, I find it leads to a lot more business. And it's, I find it's much more pleasant than back in the days when I pretended to be businessman Michael.
For sure. All right. Well, speaking of personal, before I let you go, it doesn't have to be super personal, but I want to ask you one other question just to dig inside your head a little bit more. And that's to deliver a line from a movie that speaks to you and explain why you chose that one.
Yeah, I actually use this example all the time. It's from this little obscure movie called Finding Forrester. Okay. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie.
I've heard of it.
It's a great movie. Sean Connery.
Okay.
So Sean Connery plays this kind of reclusive writer who befriends this teenage boy. And at one point, the teenage boy is trying to date this girl in his class. And Sean Connery says to him, and I will not attempt a Scottish accent, so don't worry. He says to him, the way to a woman's heart is to give her an unexpected gift at an unexpected time. And that is very much my approach, that what can you do that's different? So even everybody sends their clients gifts at the holidays. I do it in May. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do it when everyone else is doing it. Or it's out of the blue. It's not usual. It's something different. And so I find in marketing in general, what can you do that your competitors, whoever they may be, would never think of doing? So that's why Sean Connery is so famous.
I like it. And of course, it's perfect for the show because it's all about how can you create that remarkable experience, because you got to do something that everybody else isn't doing. It's got to be unexpected.
Right.
All right. This has been super cool. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.